Well, good afternoon, everybody. Ray Halbrook here from Livestream STL Media. Hope everybody's having a great day today. Welcome to Main Street Sports here live. We are live from Faith Community Church. Their offices here, they actually have a built-in studio here, and I want to thank Brian for giving us the good word on there. Brian, my friend, and folks, I mean, this is a whole brand new thing because we're used to having lots of music in the background and people walking by us and all this stuff, and we've got nothing now.
That's right,
so it's
no
like
sound.
it's definitely a different change of pace, so to speak. But we're here, and while we're here, we're going to take advantage of the space. We're going to take advantage of being able to put together a really cool thing together today. We are going to be previewing the District 13 District Championship going into next week. And before I get started here, I'm going to bring all of the folks that are on our panel today in right here. Here we go. I've got Jeff over remote over from the Blue Tiger Media offices. How you doing, Jeff?
Very good. Gentlemen, how are you today?
Good. Matt down below me here. Matthew, my friend, been with us for a little while and calling quite a few of our games. And so I thought, man, we got to get Matt in here because he's definitely the numbers guru here. So, Matt, how you doing?
I'm doing well today. And you know what, again, thank you, Brian, for, the accommodations today. This is really slick, really nice.
Right.
And I think, honestly, Ray could even say from the production standpoint,
yeah,
like really cool not to have like all the other intricacies of, outside interference, wind, like we were having at the ball game the other day, where, he's able to focus and just make this thing as slick as,
Slick as snot, right?
Yeah,
it's what you were going to say. I knew that's what you were going to say.
Yes.
That's awesome. Brian Kaplinger, B-Cap, is with us as well. My friend, Brian, appreciate you coming in. But he literally lives right behind the church here, so it's a walk for him. And always fun. So B-Cap in the house.
That's it. Difficult day to fight traffic. What can I say?
Yeah, there you go.
That's really hard to get here.
Right.
No snow days for you, right?
No snow days. That's
Not
right.
often.
That's right.
Just walk on over.
Awesome.
That's it.
Awesome. Well, we're going to get things started right away here, and we're going to start with the records. And people have already hammered me on different things with the records as I put this graphic up. Why are the records so different but similar? And why are these guys in the right spot at different spots? So we have Festus 253, who still has to play one more game against Hillsboro next week, which was supposed to be a couple days ago, and they rained out, and so they are rescheduling that, I believe, for next Tuesday. So we still got to wait for that game. Rock Memorial's done; they're 5-3. DeSoto SMCI done; they're 5-3. St. Gen, they are not done; they're 4-3. They've got to finish a game Wednesday, I believe, with Hillsboro, and Hillsboro down 0-6, unfortunately. But the reason why we have that 4-3 St. Gen right now, it doesn't matter if they win. I believe, if I'm correct, they will not move up any. So that's why we've got St. Genevieve in that 4-3 spot. The only other team that can move would be down, I believe, would be Festus. And I believe if that ends up happening, then I don't even have any ideas because you got 5 teams, or you got 4 teams at 5-3.
Right.
And as you had said, this is based on like a power ranking. This isn't their overall records. This is just their district records.
Right.
So that was, questions that were posed too was, why didn't DeSoto move up? And it was based on their sort of strength of schedule, if you will. So, so those.
And the other disclaimer is this: I was too lazy to move them up because I knew they couldn't move up anymore.
Right. So there you go.
So blame it on my laziness. So, there you go. All right. There you go. So, Jeff, I'm going to kick it over to you here real quick. How do you want to start this as far as, I know you've got a ton of graphics. Do you want to start with the graphics first?
Let's run quickly through those real quick, and then we can get the guys their interpretations, their comments on those. At this point in the season, as we're getting ready to make the turn here into district play, Just wanted to recognize some of the offensive leaders, some of the pitching leaders, and some of the team stats to kind of give everybody an idea of where we're at. So, yeah, if you want to go ahead and throw those up, Ray, that's fine.
I started to set the schedule here or what's going on here, but we'll do it this way instead. So let's see if this works. We're going to start with team fielding percentage.
Fielding percentage. There you go. Okay.
I'm actually quite surprised these are as high as they are.
Yes.
Right. Giving the I mean, and this just looking at this one graphic right here, when you go back and you look at team pitching and like their ERAs and you look at their runs and their earned runs, like there's a few pitchers through here where, you got a guy like Ponce who's given up 36 runs, but only 20 of them are earned.
Right.
And the coaches up and down talking about how, the errors coming back to kill us. And you're seeing teams with 940 fielding percentage where I'm like, okay. Well, I guess the math is what it is, right, Jeff?
I think the most important thing to remember here is who is running Game Changer. And all
yes.
That's a good point, too.
So,
yes.
If you have, and I'll just throw that, if you have a parent who's very sympathetic and things like that, you're going to see a lot more hits. And that tends to favor, the defense here.
There you go. All right. Moving over here to the ERA leaders. This is kind of a hodgepodge of different things.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Now, I went by minimum of 15 innings pitched, guys, and that's where we came up with these numbers here. Obviously, Langston DeSoto doesn't get a whole lot of press with some of the other guys, but something popped out of me. Just Cameron Schlesselman's having a really good season. You'll look at his WHIP number here in a second, and some of these are young guys. I mean. That are going to be that were just juniors this year in high school. They'll be coming back for their senior teams, like Schlesselman. I believe he's a junior next year for Windsor.
There you go. Okay, and I'm getting texts in as we speak from different people trying to help us with some of these stats as well. So we're going to have to confirm on a few things as well. But let's move on to our next stat here. That's going to be the batting average leaders. Are we surprised that Sam Wall is batting .444?
No, I'm not. I mean, really, again, with the games that we've covered and I've seen in person, does not surprise me when you see Connor Heister, Hagley, Wall, Irvin up there in the top. Cannon Walk, hadn't seen a whole lot of him, but that does not surprise me given his athletic talent. But Caps, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of those guys, too, at the top, one of the things that I've seen throughout the season with them is they're aggressive at the plate. They don't really take a whole lot of pitches. If they're in the middle, they're swinging early. They're not one of these, we're going to make the pitcher work, so to speak. They're like, hey, look, this may be the only good fastball I get, and they jump on it. I mean, we just did the game with DeSoto, and you saw that from Heister. I mean, he even talked about it in the post game. Like, I wasn't waiting around. I'm going after the first pitch that's over the plate. And a lot of those guys on the list, especially even Wall, watching him, he is aggressive at the plate, and he has made pitchers pay for that.
And don't confuse aggressiveness with power, because that's the other thing. You guys are just putting the ball in play to get the job done, to get on base. This isn't like they're being aggressive, swinging for the fence and looking to kill the ball every time. If they're killing the ball, they're hitting it as a scorcher between first and second, and they're not doing anything more than what they need to do with it. So that's why you see guys with 5, 6, 7 doubles and maybe either a home run or not.
Right.
But they're batting .444, .425, .400. It's just that they're making the hard contact aggressive, as you said early on, and they're not doing too much to put themselves in a bad spot.
Yeah, and I think it speaks to the pitching a little bit. And, Jeff, I'll let you talk here. But it's like they recognize that there's some quality pitchers in this district, and they are going to throw strikes. There's, obviously there are walks that happen.
Right.
But they're not really giving them a lot of opportunity to do that, because they're like, I'm not letting them get to their second or third pitch that's going to make it difficult for me to swing and not miss at.
Jeffrey.
And gentlemen, I was just going to comment, and we'll just throw this out here. You don't have to answer this question, but perhaps we're seeing the return. The pendulum might be swinging a little bit away from power and launch angle to more contact based now. I'm seeing a little bit in the upper levels, and maybe we're seeing that trickle down now to the Legion level.
Exactly. let me, I just got a text in from Cherokee Boynton over at SMCI. He's telling me that St. John has 4 losses, not 3, 2 to Rock, 2 to Festus. I got to double check that because I know there's another game that was half played, and I believe they were winning 1-0 over Hillsboro, but I'm not sure if they're going to pick that particular game up where they left off, or are they going to replay a whole game? And I think it kind of comes down to innings and things like that. So,
well, and you know
we'll
what?
see.
And it goes back to what we were talking, Ray and Brian, before we went on. Like, the information is so hard to get,
Yep.
and unless you're actually, like I said, talking to Coach Boynton or Coach Beck, to say, hey, and what I'm seeing, or at least what's being provided to us, is correct, because
Right.
that's all we're trying to do is get it as right as possible. So Hillsboro may have better than an 883 fielding percentage, but when you talk to Coach Beck and he talks about how errors are killing us,
Yeah.
okay, makes sense that out of 100 opportunities, you're botching 12 out of the other
Right.
88.
Right.
So,
Right.
we're doing the best we can, given the minimalist information that we can get access to, and we're still going to give the kids or the young men their proper credit.
So it comes
Right.
down
And to
to
back up what Matt's saying there, for example, all of my stats that I gathered were from Game Changer as of
Right.
yesterday afternoon. So nobody played yesterday because it was the
Yeah.
4th. So
Right.
I waited until then to make sure, hopefully, that all the stats could be updated.
Yeah, I mean, go out and Google American Legion baseball, and I guarantee you will not find one stat other than how to register your team, and you can go and you can pick on a state
Right.
to see what teams are in it.
Right.
Outside of that, done.
Right. That's why we do our best to rely on Game Changer. If we didn't have Game Changer, we'd be pretty much in the dark.
Yeah.
So I get it. That is so important. Game Changer people that are running that. There's a lot riding on your shoulders. So
No
we get
pressure.
that. No
No
pressure.
pressure.
That's
Right.
right. That's right. Let's move on here to our next set of stats here. Team batting average here. Now, are we surprised that Festus is batting .277 as a team?
No, I mean, and you look at the disparity there. I mean, just even from Festus to DeSoto, you're only talking 20 points.
Right.
And the numbers, what I find more impressive about that is you look at Festus, you look at Rock, you look at DeSoto, the number of guys that are batting 350 north, to show you that, I mean, this isn't like, these aren't teams where like one person can carry you. You've got 3 guys that are hitting 350 north, but yet your team batting average is still like 257, 270,
Right.
to where it's like some of those other pieces that may not be pulling their weight. Really, I'm surprised they're as low as they are, given a number of the guys that are batting 350 north on a given team.
Yeah, I mean, it speaks to the challenge, I think, of American Legion Baseball, because you have such a diverse skill set that comes to the table for these teams. You are going to have these, what I would say, top-tier guys that are going to hit well, pitch well, all of that. And then you're going to have guys that are coming in that are still trying to find their groove, find their rhythm. I hate to say it this way, some of them may not be taking it quite to the seriousness that others are. They're trying to further their high school career, collegiate career, all of that. And others are like, this is just an opportunity for me to continue to play a game I love.
Don't want to get hurt for football season.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a lot of other factors that come into it. And so that's why you see, like, if you go up and down some of these rosters, you're going to see not only the disparity in the games played, but also in the averages, because there is kids like Wall that are 400 plus, and you've got kids that are struggling because they've only got 1 or 2 hits on the season.
Yeah, absolutely. Jeff, you want to elaborate on any of that?
Well, yeah, and just to elaborate on what Brian says, it speaks to the lack of depth. Basically, I think that's what
Right.
it comes down to. Lack of depth in the hitting department and in the pitching department, as we'll talk about here when we talk about our predictions for the who's going to come out of the district tournament.
Oh, man, you just dangled a carrot there, didn't you?
Sir.
All right. Whip leaders, walks, hits, and innings pitched here. Again, this is our stats according to Game Changer here, and Dominic Sutton dominating. You see Hayden Langston and Connor Heister there as well. 3 coming up here from DeSoto. DeSoto loaded with some pitching here, guys.
Yeah, DeSoto definitely is. And, again, when you see him in person, that's no surprise that you see 3 representatives from there. Well, I mean, one, their pitching depth is
Right.
just off the charts.
Right.
But again, when you can throw a Heister out there, and it's like you're going to get 6+ innings out of him a game. The only thing I could say is like when you're watching DeSoto, that's what you're wanting to see out of a St. Louis Cardinals pitching staff.
Right, sure.
You're wanting to see, get your starting pitchers to go maybe like 6+, maybe into 7. That way you don't have to tax your bullpen come, say, inning number 5, where you got to figure out 4 innings of work. Or in a game like this where, you only got your starting pitchers going into, say, inning number 3, where I've got a whole half of a game to figure out, where you got Heister going 6 2/3. I need one guy like Evan McClinton to come in and just zip 3 fastballs in and get 3 quick outs.
Right. I mean, and you talked about it, and again, to highlight Heister in this sense, I mean, you're 34 2/3 innings pitched already coming into this point. And so to me, that just about, yes, they've played a lot of games. I don't want to make it out like they're all playing the same amount of games. That's across the whole schedule. But at that, there's a lot of durability. Again, we saw them the most recent here, rough first inning for him, but then just turned it and all of that. And then you talk about someone like, Festus 253 with Dominic Sutton, who has been outstanding. We saw that in high school for the Hillsboro Hawks there, and coming to Festus and playing, he's doing the same thing. But the only downside for that, I think, for Coach Casena out there is they don't have quite the depth that you're talking about that DeSoto has. DeSoto can pitch 3-4 guys that I would say are legitimate 1-2 type pitchers, where other teams, again, going back to Jeff's point, the depth's not there. So they're relying on kids that probably haven't pitched a whole lot in their career as a whole.
Very well said, because I think you look at a guy like a Dominic Sutton, and it's just kind of like, dude, here's the ball. You're going 7 because I need you to go 7. Just keep your finger in the dike and hope the wall doesn't explode, because I think that's the same mentality like when you see up there at Rock Memorial, and a guy like a Nate Estepari, who's come in out of nowhere, even like it's 2 starts, but it's like he's taking the rock and going 6-7 innings almost more out of necessity than it is, like a depth issue.
Yeah, no, and that's really good. Go ahead, Jeff.
To Matt's point, Cherokee, since we know that you're watching, hello, by the way, but obviously get on the phone with Ollie. Matt's telling you that we need some more depth at the big league level. So
that's right.
Cherokee, give Ollie a call.
All right, moving on here. Make sure I got the right one. I think this is the right one. Yeah, OPS leaders here. Brendan Irvin, OPS 1.133. Heister and Camphy, Bates, Hagley, Wall, Mullins, Gage, and Linder. Some interesting names up there. And I mean, these guys have just been absolutely raking throughout the season here, guys.
Yeah, even with the limited number of games Hayden Bates has played, I mean, you talk about a straw that stirs the drink. I mean, he hit a foul ball up in there in that Rock Memorial Festus game that I think is still going. That was one of the harder hit balls, foul or not, that I think I've seen in recent memory, and just the plug that he provided. But when you see him out of the mix, how, again, as I go back to saying, like, you can definitely tell, like, in a league like this, that it's not just one guy that can carry the team. You can still take a Hayden Bates out of the equation and look to see how productive a Festus, team can be, where you've got, Irvin, Dylan Black, Tanner Duncan holding the fort down. But to see Hayden Bates on that list was kind of surprising, because I didn't think he had played that many games to really qualify. But when you look at everybody up and down that list, I mean, when you look at the way they get on base, they're hitting, no real shockers on that from my end.
Yeah, I mean, I think what stands out to me, you don't see it on that list, but that list is indicative. You talk about the St. Genevieve team. I mean, even Walk and Gegg. I mean, you're talking about guys that have over 500 on-base percentage as well. I mean, and so it just speaks to, back to maybe Jeff's initial point, it's not so much about just power anymore. These kids are finding ways to get on base. They're finding ways to hit the ball hard and find the gaps that are really going to be significant, especially when you talk about coming up to the end of the year. You get into the district championships, and even beyond that, you're going to face teams where those gap shots, the hard hit contact, is going to be more important than just going deep or the launch angle.
Jeffrey.
What they said, exactly. Echo those sentiments.
Is that absolutely not just the go-to default? What they said. I like it.
Well, we don't want to be here an hour.
That's
I could
true.
talk for hours.
Yeah, we could.
Right,
we could sit here and talk forever. But Our final stat, I believe this is correct, is team ERA. And, man, I tell you what, I mean, you know, I give St. Genevieve that 407 there down there. St. Genevieve was my number one pick this year. And I really felt like that they were going to have just an absolute solid team. Don't be surprised, even though that says 4.07, to see that more like a 202 in the championship.
I'll be honest with you, Ray. I don't think there's a wrong answer on this list, because even your Hillsboro at 557, like we had talked about earlier,
right.
If you're stringent on your reporting and how you're doing the game, because I know even Rock Memorial had indicated that the other day with Heister that 2 of his runs were earned. Well, the guy that started the game off reached on an error. So every run that scores after that is unearned.
Right.
So, I mean, in that case, you know, to me, I felt that, you know, Heister had, you know, 3 runs given up, but none of them were earned. So I see, you know, so some of that reporting, I mean, and if Hillsboro's, you know, a little more stringent on that, because like I said, looking at some of these guys, when you look at like at a Ponce who 36 runs, 20 of them are unearned. Well, he can't be the only one, because even at 20 earned runs,
right?
I don't know how that's still shooting up the team ERA to a 5.5 plus. But I'm just saying that even though there's like a disparity among there, I'm telling you right now, the quality of pitching, though, that is there, that is present. Looking at the list of pitchers that are on it, I mean, it's an impressive list. And the team ERA, I guess the only way to say it is what it is.
Yeah, and again, watching all the games that I've been able to watch this year, it wasn't surprising to me. Some games we'd walk in and it's a 1-0, 2-0, 3-0 style game, and then other games it's 10-8, and some of it is legitimately just one inning getting away from these teams, and I think it speaks to what you're saying, Matt. Jeff, you've alluded to it as well. Even though the records for most of them are fairly close together, even bringing Hillsboro into that mix, none of these teams are really that far separated from one another, at least on the talent side of things and the ability that their top-end players have. I think it's always going to be, especially at this level when you're talking about American Legion, can you clean up those 1 or 2 innings that tend to be the ones that decimate the game for you?
Yeah, because you've got a small sample size to work with for a course of an American Legion season, so it's not like you've got like 50 games to work with. You've got like 20.
Right.
And if you're finally catching, you know, wind in like game 15, you're behind the bus.
Love it. Jeff, you got anything you want to add to that as well?
No, I think the guys covered that quite well. You know, just what Brian said, it's being able to manage that one inning could make the difference, and being able to manage that to where it doesn't get too out of hand. And that's where you have maybe all of these very new coaches coming in now.
Right.
And they're learning that process of they can see that momentum. There might be a couple of errors and a couple of hits, a couple of bad pitches, pass balls, whatever. How do we minimize that big inning for the other team so that we can come back and try to stay in the game?
Love it. Well, our first half is done here with we just buzzed through 24 minutes. Man, that's good. That's awesome. So we're going to come back with our predictions here in a little bit, and this should be interesting because none of us have talked to each other about who we think is going to come out of this championship. So we'll be right back. This is Main Street Sports.
Church is more than just an hour in a pew every Sunday. It's a community. It's where you can come as you are. It's a place where you can connect with God, learn from Scripture, and grow as you build relationships. It's a place where it's okay to be a work in progress. At Faith Community, you'll find an authentic group of people who are pursuing God and supporting one another along the way as we move from where we are to where God wants us to be. Wherever you're at on your journey, you are welcome here.
Hey Dalen, check this out. It says right here, your father and I are second cousins. We're related.
Well, if that's the case, you owe me a graduation present.
Very funny.
At least you can say you're related to an all-conference and all-district baseball player. How does that feel?
I will admit, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Hey Dalen.
Yeah?
At least you could say you're related to a famous sports media person. What's that like?
I wouldn't know. But I do know to watch the Main Street Sports Show on Livestream SDL.
The Main Street Sports Show, shining a light in Jefferson County.
Very funny.
We are back here at Faith Community, the studio, the awesome studio that is. And it is now time, let me pull the music down. It is now time for our predictions on who's going to come out of this particular District 13 American Legion tournament about a week and a half from now. So again, I'll throw a disclaimer.
Guys.
I'll throw a disclaimer. The disclaimer is we don't know, but this is who we think it is, so don't take it personal. So it's one of those things that we're just kind of our personal opinion, and I'm trying to think. Who do I want to go first with? I'm going to go with Kaplinger first.
Oh, I knew it was coming. I knew
okay.
it. I'm the newest guy, so it just makes sense.
Get the rookie in here.
Yeah, I'll throw in another disclaimer in a fun way, but
okay.
if I choose you not to be in there, put a chip on your shoulder.
Okay.
Gentlemen, go out there and play.
It.
Like, prove me wrong. I would say that. Prove me wrong in this. This is what this is about. It's a lot of fun. And so are we just going right to it, or are we just...
Let's get right to it. Yeah, why not?
Okay, for me, I mean, this was tough. I really had to think about this.
Teacher gave us a tough homework assignment.
Yeah, I was sitting there and I'm, going back, rewatching games, and then also just trying to do the eye test from what I've seen all season, and then, trying not to be biased because obviously, there are connections in different ways, and so all of that. But at the end of the day, I think I settled on DeSoto as being the team that comes out of the mix. And for me, this is why. I think overall they have the best depth, and as a team, they have the most complete team that I've seen. As far as from the pitching side, the hitting side. I think, when you talk about a team like Festus, for me, Festus is really, really close in there, because I think they have a couple of key starters. They've got some really offensively minded talent on that team. And if they get hot at the right time, they can make some noise. But I think when it comes down to it, for me, and it's not just because Coach Boynton is watching, we've established that earlier. Right. I'm watching Heister and Merrill and Mullins and these guys, yet they do their job up top. But we're starting to see the guys that are what I would consider those support role players. They're embracing those roles. They're starting to find their rhythm defensively, pitching. You even talked about McClinton coming in. It's establishing the key roles that are going to matter when you get to the district tournament.
Nice.
And to piggyback on that's who I have as well too. And I think
put up your paper.
Yes, as
right here.
We had
there
said,
it is.
Yes, there
okay.
it is.
Okay, you got it. All right.
So I completed my homework assignment as well, too, and that's who I came up with as well because, as I've said, I think anytime, whether it's basketball, whether it's football, when you head into what we call that second season, that postseason, I think there's a lot to be said about the wave you ride to get into or out of.
Right.
You come into, like a DeSoto, finishing the season strong like they have. You look at the pitching depth that they have where, if a starter does get in trouble, they've got the depth to really come in as to where, you take like a Rock Memorial, if you will, and then you got like an Estepari, where you're given the ball and it's just like, hey, you got to go 7 for me.
Right.
DeSoto can split it up. They can limit the damage, and then you take and you put that damage now on the batters and the hitters that they have, and you see the way they can move, get runners over. The stolen bases was like another thing we hadn't really even touched on. But the number of kids in this District 13 that are just swiping bags, that I think that's another element of the game that when you see these other steps up and you watch something like even at the pro level and you're like, it just kills you seeing a guy at first that doesn't move a station and there's 3 outs. You watch this District 13 at any given team and it's like a guy gets on with a walk. You look at McClinton, we talked about the pitching, but a guy batting .283 but has an on-base percentage of .450.
Right, that's it.
That is crazy. That's because he's getting the walks, and also he's navigating around the bases because he's swiping 2 bags every time he gets on as well, too. So I think the overall product DeSoto brings to the table and the fact they're riding a wave at like 14-5-2.
Right.
I think they're catching fire at the right time, and that's my pick to click.
All right. We're going to kick it over to Jeff. Mr. Whitener.
Well, gentlemen, I think there's a couple of things we need to consider first before I make my predictions here. And I know, just looked and I saw that Coach Alec Casina and Coach Judy Bosler are also tournament right now. So I will say this: if any of you gentlemen or Cherokee know if one team or two teams will be advancing this year from district to the zone tournament, they could text Ray real quick. I'd appreciate that, because that sort of is a qualifier for my prediction here. We were trying to get that information earlier, but it was we weren't able to get it before airtime. When I look at this, as I look at any baseball tournament, pitching,
right,
pitching, and you have to have the depth, especially if you battle back through the losers bracket. You have to have the depth of arms. And when I look at these teams, the team with the most pitching depth is DeSoto. I do think, as Kaplinger said, they may be, I don't know if they're the most complete team on paper, but they're the most they're the most complete team. And so how far as they've played on the field, in my opinion. Now, very, very close to that is Festus, and I cannot count Festus out. And the reason why is, despite the fact that they don't have the pitching depth that DeSoto has, they have guys on that roster from Festus and Hillsboro that know how to win. They know how to come up big in big moments, in big tournaments, whether it's a Linder or whether it's a Sutton, whether it's a Bates, and I could go on and on down that list. Those guys have been there. They have done that. They know how to play and perform in pressure situations in big games. So if two teams go through, I'll put it this way: whoever emerges as the champion, I'm going to give a slight edge to DeSoto, and with Festus a close second. If two teams advance to zone, I'm going to take those two teams to advance. Now, Rock is a scrappy bunch. They're always a scrappy bunch. They're going to always cause some trouble. That's the thing I love about them. St. John, I had, like Ray, I picked St. John to have a better season. Not be surprised if playing at home that they get a boost from that, and they can cause a lot of trouble in this tournament. The key thing to remember about St. John, if you look up and down their roster, is they're a relatively young team.
Yeah.
That team, the Valley, that went far in the state playoffs this year, they had a lot of guys from that team. Those guys were all juniors this year. Mm-hmm. So they only have a couple of guys. I think maybe just one or two that graduated in 2024. So it's a relatively young team. So look out for them next year for sure. Hillsboro, I want to speak to Hillsboro. Do I think they have a legitimate shot in the tournament? Anybody's guess. But the one thing I want to talk about Hillsboro real quick is the fact that this is a second-year program, and it's going to take a while to build this program up. You still have a lot of guys coming from feeder teams that before the Hillsboro program was started, they were dispersed to Festus 253. They were dispersed to DeSoto SMCI and other places. So it's going to take a while to get those real young players, those 10 to 12-year-old kids, to stay in the Hillsboro program and bring it up through there. And once they're able to do that, they're going to do a lot better. And you'll see them improve. They've got two young, very good, knowledgeable coaches that. And speaking of coaches, that's a good segue. I want to talk about all the coaches we had this year, because everybody is either new or even Grant Beck at Hillsboro. He took over halfway through the season last year. So kudos to all of these guys that are either still playing the game or just recently removed from playing the game, for giving back to the sport that they love. And I got to love that. And it's fun watching see these guys grow and learn as coaches. And we're in for a real treat here, and we're speaking to Junie. You you guys will be in for a treat seeing him down at St. Genevieve. I'm sure he'll be there, even though he's the junior coach at St. Gen this year. He'll be down there for all the senior games. So big shout out to Junie Bosler.
Yeah, he actually just texted me as well, so he's listening still. He said no matter what, St. Genevieve will advance with the champion. Now, if they're the champion, I guess it would be the team that takes second as well. Right. So 2 teams, no matter what, go.
Okay.
So there you have it. So
there you go.
So we know I've got St. Genevieve going.
Okay.
So I make myself look like I really know what I'm talking about here.
Right.
Right. But like I said, and I'm going to jump on board here because Coach Woody texted me as well while we were doing the show here. Shout out to Coach Woody. I'm on board with Coach Woody here. I think Festus goes with St. Gen.
Okay.
And I think the reason why we've seen enough of them this year, I've only seen one game where I just felt like, man, they just didn't come to play today. And that was against DeSoto. But I really feel like everybody's going to have to elevate their game. They're going to have to elevate their game to the point to where you've got to take a look at the experience that some of these teams have as far as playoffs is concerned. Having Hayden Bates on that team makes a huge difference.
Oh, absolutely.
Having Dom Sutton on that team makes a huge difference. Those guys played against each other. They play for each other, guys like that. Now, that's just 2 guys. Now, a couple days ago, we saw Tanner Duncan come in, but we've always had somebody different as a player of the game, and it was just a unanimous decision. So I think one of the things you got to take a look at is just the overall team as a whole. Are you going to be able to have this person and that person and the next person and the next person each game just be that highlight guy? So that's why I still go with Festus. DeSoto does have the pitching. I just hope that what I would love to see, I would love to see a slugfest in every game. I'd love to see a 15-12 or a 10-8 game or things like that. But it's extremely rare nowadays. Right. So, but I just really kind of think Festus is going to come out with St. Gen. So there you have it, guys. And shout out to my guys that have been jumping back and forth in here on our texting and messaging and things like that, and we appreciate that. So as we wrap it up, we will have some of the coverage. We're still working out the coverage right now with the district right now. I know no matter what, we'll have the championship game nights, and so that will be definitely. The rest of the games kind of go on our as far as our sponsors are going. Right now, we are looking either for sponsors or something to help us make it through these 2 weeks, not just 1 week, but 2 weeks, because both tournaments are at St. Gen. So we'll be taking a look into some options there as well. Gentlemen, it has been fun, and we've got the Brady Bunch going on here, type thing. But again, appreciate everybody that's been watching, everybody that's been a part of this as well. Continue to, support us by coming out to the games, watching the games, saying hi to Kaplinger and Matt Bates and all these guys. But we appreciate the support, and we will see you next week sometime here. For all of us here at Livestream STL and Main Street Sports, we will see you down the road. Have a good day. Thanks for watching today's broadcast. Any unauthorized use of this broadcast without the express written consent of Livestream STL is strictly prohibited.